Welcome and namaste everyone. This is Prakash Mohara and I am working at the Asian Human Rights Commission. Today is the Constitutional Day in Nepal. Nepal Constitution was promulgated on 20 September 2015. In order to continue with our interviews with members of the civil society, lawyers, media person and human rights advocates, among others, today we have Mr. Dinesh Tripathi. Mr. Tripathi is having this constitutional discussion with Mr. Basil Fernando, focusing on the implementation gaps of the fundamental rights in Nepal's constitution. Mr. Tripathi is currently a senior advocate practicing at the Supreme Court of Nepal. Mr. Tripathi's expertise lies on the constitutional and international human rights, including politics and law. Mr. Tripathi has also published a number of books and booklets on the concept of human rights in the context of international law, refugee and human rights in the state of emergency, and various articles on human rights, rule of law, constitution, and democracy, among other issues. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Tripathi. I would not, like to request Mr. Basil to start the interview. Over to you, Mr. Basil. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Very happy to have you. I have been following your constitutional development from, I think, somewhere after the monarchy was overthrown. Then, so it's a very important development in your country. I'm sure you have been through all that. So could you just begin with the introduction to the constitutional constitution, particularly with the emphasis on the human rights section, and then we can proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Basil. So now you are able to promulgate a new constitution like 5 years back, and it was adopted as a part of peace deal because Nepal went through a decade-long armed conflict, and the root cause of conflict was identified that Nepal is facing serious discrimination, there is exploitation, marginalization, and the human right of the population has been denied. So there was the continuous violation. So now, in order to have a peace constitution, new constitution was also negotiated as a part of peace process in Nepal. So I would say that we wanted to have it a peace constitution, a transformative constitution, because there was a structural discrimination, structural violence, and the large number of population was denied their rights and empowerment. They are not part of the political process. They are heavily marginalized, like Dalit population. We had the indigenous population, and there was a huge divide between hills and Tarai population. So all kind of women are heavily discriminated. So we wanted to have a constitution which must be a transformative constitution, which must be guarantee the fundamental rights of the citizen and right to not only civil and political right, but also economic, social, and cultural rights, and right to participation, and right to have not only a cosmetic participation, but to right to have a meaningful participation in the state organs. Since huge number of population, large number of population was heavily discriminated, and they are heavily marginalized. They are not allowed to equally participate into the decision making process. So state was very it was not inclusive state. So the root cause of conflict was that it was not exclusive. The state was not inclusive, and it is a discriminatory state, and the large number of population was deprived from their fundamental rights. So this was a kind of root cause of conflict. So we wanted to have a constitution which can ensure everybody's right, and the rights and liberty and participation could be the basis for sustainable peace and democracy. So now you have a constitution. Constitution provide a long list of fundamental rights. Article 16 to 46. There are 31, long list of fundamental rights under the Nepali constitution. On top of that, you have a Supreme Court, is a like a guardian of the constitution, guardian of fundamental rights of the people. But things is that there is a huge gulf between idealism of the constitution and the ground reality. Still, the ground reality is same. Still, fundamental rights or human rights is not fully materialized, and the population at the ground, the grassroots level, is still not able to enjoy their fundamental rights. There is a huge gulf between constitutional ideals and in the hard reality of the nations.
Yeah. So could you explain a little bit on your fundamental rights section?
Yes.
Now, if fundamental rights is violated, what can a citizen do?
Okay, if because if the fundamental rights of the citizen has been violated by the state organs, so they can approach to the Supreme Court and High Court also. Now the nation has been federalized, but you have a unitary form of judiciary. Now there is a three tier of the court: district court, and then High Court, and the Supreme Court. So in that case, they can go, any citizen can go to the High Court as well as the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has a larger power, and directly the matter goes to the Supreme Court. If it is comes to the question of fundamental rights of the citizen. So Supreme Court has extraordinary power to issue writs. It's a prerogative writs, like habeas corpus. If there is a illegal detention, then habeas corpus writ can be issued by this apex court. If there is a fundamental rights has been violated by any state action, then it can be challenged, and through the writ of certiorari, it can be quashed. And there is a writ of mandamus, and there is a there are different kind of writs, prerogative writs are there. So Supreme Court can issue those writs, and High Court can also issue writs. In addition to that, there are Human Rights Commission is also into the Constitution. So Human Rights Commission is also there, and there are other commissions also. But the unfortunate part is that there is a Dalit Commission. There is a provisions for Dalit Commission, provisions for Women Commission, Commission on Inclusion, and Commission on Indigenous People. But after the 5 years had been elapsed of the promulgation of the Constitution, but still those commission has not been formed, not been constituted. That's a very unfortunate part. So that's basically a theoretical. But I would say the Supreme Court is there, Human Rights Commission is there. Theoretically speaking, constitutionally speaking, but I would say that you need independent court. At the same time, we also need competent court also. But the way Supreme Court has been constituted into the appointment process of the Supreme Court judges is, I would say, it is a bit faulty, because there is a judicial council for the appointment of judges in the Supreme Court and High Court. But now the problem is that judges are not in majority. In the previous constitution, the judges are in majority in the judicial council. But now I would say that there are two Chief Justice is chairperson of judicial council, and another senior most Supreme Court judge, and one person from bar association, and law minister, as well as the appointees from Prime Minister. So I would say that there are three other peoples other than the Supreme Court justices. So that's why I would say that the whole appointment process has been heavily politicized. So we say that, of course, Supreme Court is one hand heavily empowered under the constitution to protect fundamental rights of the citizen, but in another hand, so the power of Supreme Court has been, paralyzed because of there is a political influence, because a lot of political, influence in the judges appointment process. So I would say that, so because, there is a political influence in the judiciary, so, a lot of political cadre has been also appointed in justices in the apex court, in a political loyalties, on the basis of their political loyalty. So that's very unfortunate part. Uh, but Supreme Court, one hand, of course, it has been empowered, but thing is that, nowadays, it's a huge controversy is there. It's like in the couple of cases, the judgment given by the Supreme Court has become heavily, controversial. Even lawyers are, running a campaign to reforming a judiciary. Now you are asking for, constitutional amendment. So because of judicial council, the structure of judicial council is faulty. Now justices are not in majority. Now it is a political, process. And on top of that, there is a provision of parliamentary hearing into the constitution. So all the judges who have been appointed, they have to pass through the parliament hearing. So now it has been another tool for the politicization of the judiciary, and there is a direct political influence in judiciary. So that's why the judiciary has been to that extent, it is a heavily influenced by political process also. But largely I would say that Supreme Court is working reasonably well, and to protect fundamental rights of the citizen. I would say that in terms of habeas corpus writs, it's doing well, because a lot of political detainees, still there are a lot of political detainees, they have been arrested. But one unfortunate part is that it's like from the former Maoists, there is a splinter groups like Viplov groups. So a lot of people have been arrested, and Supreme Court repeatedly said that on the basis of their political opinion, no one can be arrested. Everybody can have free to have their political opinion. So no one can be arrested or prosecuted on the basis of their political opinion only. And then largely Supreme Court give a release order, but unfortunately there is once the detainee has been released, and once they get out of boundary of Supreme Court, immediately they have been arrested. So that's also very unfortunate part. Largely Supreme Court orders has been not fully abide by the executive branch of the state. And so it's a really a kind of, I would say it's a very problematic.
Yeah. You mentioned that
Yes.
there were some cases where even the lawyers were not very happy with it. Could you kindly give some one or two examples?
There is a one case has become heavily controversial. It's about, there is one police officer. He was a DIG of police, and then he was alleged to killing of his wife, and then he gave awarded a life imprisonment by the lower court, and case came into the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court, instead of giving him a life imprisonment without any basis, without any transparent jurisprudence, the sentence had been reduced only to 8.5 years. So this judgment has become heavily criticized in the media, and it has really tarnished the image of judiciary. And in that judgment, Chief Justice himself was involved. There was two judges bench, and including Chief Justice himself. So that judgment has become, because how can you reduce curtail the punishment so heavily without any objective ground? there is no clear-cut jurisprudence. And then and there are a couple of other judgment also, and we can feel the influence of politics in the our judgment also. So I would say that, of course, our judiciary is not politically free. It is not corruption free also. There is a huge corruptions also. So in these days, the image of judiciary has been heavily tarnished, I would say that. So because the public confidence is a lifeblood, oxygen for judiciary, but now it has been heavily tarnished. So we are really, judiciary is under trial, facing a tough time, because people are losing faith, and there is a lot of media trials, and so because now there is a huge question regarding the integrity and sanctity of the institution, and now these issues have been openly debated in a public domain. So I would say that it is a very unfortunate chapter in our judicial history.
You said that the some of the lawyers are calling for some amendments to the constitutions to correct some of these things. Could you explain that?
Yeah, actually, I am also part of that process. We are running a campaign that the inherent flaws into the constitution has to be rectified in order to make judiciary fully independent, free from political influence and interference. So because if the judiciary is not fully independent and competent, if it is not competent to discharge justice, deliver justice, so the written constitution is meaningless. Fundamental rights of the people is meaningless, because rights without effective remedy, rights without competent court, it does not exist. So because there is a certain part is really problematic, which is fatal for judicial independence. Like one is there is a structural flaws in a constitution of judicial council, and judicial council is also kind of defunct body, because judicial council has also enormous power for disciplining of judges. It can investigate if there is any allegation of misconduct of judges, so it can investigate. But actually, judicial council is not functioning properly. And what happened is that basically the judicial appointment process has been heavily polluted, because there is a political influence, and there are also nepotism is also there in the appointment process. There are also a corruption in the judges appointment process. So unless the structure of judicial council is rectified, it is not possible to ensure independent judiciary. So we are working on that, and there are other issues. So how you can improve the internal management of the court, because now the Chief Justice has a power to assign the case to the judges. So there are a lot of issues that it has been done in a very intransparent manner. It is a very intransparent process. Now it is also source of corruption. So we are advocating to automation process for the assignment of the cases, because there are chosen few are assigned the cases, and that has become a source of corruption. So there are other mechanism also need to be adopted, and and since we are also demanding that, since last decade, large number of incompetent judges, corrupt people has been also appointed as a judge. Political cadre has been also appointed as a judge. So there has to be a complete review of that process and judges. If there is a proven misconduct, if there is a proven that particular judge incompetent, then he has to be say goodbye. He has to be sent home, because we can't afford a corrupt judge. We can't afford an incompetent judge. We can't afford a political judge into our court. So now we are also, making, public demand openly, and there is a lot of media debate on that issues, that judiciary has to reform, and the very sanctity and integrity of the institution has to be restored, because it is a sine qua non for functioning democracy. Otherwise, democracy will lose its, because democracy means there must be supremacy of law, there must be rights of the citizen has to be guaranteed, there has to be effective remedy. If those things have been hijacked, are not at the place, so the things has become meaningless.
To return to this issue of fundamental rights, now suppose a citizen is getting tortured. Is there any remedy in the in terms of the application that can be made on the basis that his fundamental right not to be tortured has been violated?
Say it again. The first sentence. Say it again, Mr. Basil. I could.
The under the fundamental rights.
Yeah.
Suppose individual is tortured.
Oh, tortured. Okay.
Police assault him.
Oh, okay.
Is there any jurisdiction for the Supreme Court to intervene in that case? If the person goes before the Supreme Court.
Yes, yeah. Actually, the torture has become rampant in Nepal. It's a serious problem. It's a really a routine exercise into the custody, and because the police had only method for investigation is torture, because what they do is they get compensation through the torturing the people, and most of the time they are innocent people who have been tortured. Recently, there is a couple of custodial deaths because of torture committed by the police. And Nepal is a member of CAT. Nepal has ratified the Convention Against Torture, but unfortunately, the previous constitution, the torture is there. Torture was defined, but under our penal law, it was not criminalized. Because we have only a torture compensation act. Despite we ratified the convention, UN Convention Against Torture, but we had a law which is not at par with, not compatible with UN Convention. So the law we had, the legislation we had, it used to provide only compensation, just couple of 100,000. Not more than that, and only the perpetrators has no imprisonment. They have only departmental action or something like that, and it was not rarely it was invoked. Rarely it was the protection was largely it was go unpunished. But now under new constitution, the torture has been criminalized. But there is another unfortunate part. We had a new civil code has been enacted, and it was come into force just 2 years back. And under that civil code, the torture has been criminalized, but the punishment is very inadequate. I would say only up to 5-year imprisonment. And even since 2 years has been elapsed, it is a routine that torture is happening, but nobody is convicted till date. We tried in a Nirmala Panta case. It was heinous crime was committed against the girl child. She was sexually abused and she was killed, and the police. They arrested some innocent people and heavily tortured them, and we tried to book them. We registered a 5 FIR against those policemen, and I myself went all the way to the far western Nepal to argue this case in the court. In the initial hearing, we are able to get some good order from the court the court has asked 1 million surety, bail. They have to furnish 1 million Nepali currency as bail. But unfortunate part is that, like couple of month back, the final verdict has came, and in the final they all got the acquittal, and we are not even during lockdown the case was the hearing was took place, and we are in Kathmandu. We try to persuade the court that please postpone the hearing because you are not able to come for the hearing because now there is a lockdown and there is a curfew like situation. Public transportation, everything has been shut down, so we are not able to, as a lawyer we cannot represent. And then also stakeholder also went to the court, and they also request to the judges not to postpone that hearing, but the judges didn't listen anybody, and without our representation the court decided the case, and they got the acquittal. So that's, I would say. And recently there are a lot of custodial death, like in Rautahat, the Bijay Ram, he was a Dalit young young person, 19 years old youth, and he was arrested and he was heavily tortured, and now he has been died. We tried to register the FIR, but we are able to register the case, but it took long time, and a lot of lobbying, a lot of pressure to just register the case. And Sambusala, another incident was happened. There is another Dalit youth. He was also tortured in the custody, and he was also died. And we, it took a long time. And I myself went to the attorney general with a couple of lawyers, and we persuaded him. After that, only even the case has been, FIR has been registered, but there was no investigation. Sometimes what they do is they, after a huge pressure, they register the case, because in that case, the high police officials were involved, and but so no investigation has been carried out. In the case of Rautahat also, Vijay Ram case also, formally they are compelled to register the FIR, but there is no investigations. So there is a in the case of torture, there is a impunity is a serious issue. There is a impunity became part of larger culture of police system. So they are committing the crime. It's a very heinous crime, and it's an international crime. And even the Colonel Lama was prosecuted into there is a universal jurisdiction. Colonel Lama was prosecuted in UK. But thing is that in Nepal, the case of torture has been largely unpunished, and there is a complete impunity.
When a case is acquitted unjustifiably by the court, is it allowed for the complainant to file an appeal?
Yes. Appeal can be filed. Yes, of course. That's not a final. That's the decision of the trial court. But of course, it can be challenged into the High Court, and a case might come into the Supreme Court also. District Court is a court of first instance. It's not a final court. Of course, it's not a final court. Yes.
How will you? How long will it take for say ordinary case to see the finality in your court? The criminal.
It depends on so many factors, but from district court to Supreme Court, 2 years to 5-6 years it might take. It depends on so many other factors. Yeah, it's a not very prompt justice. There are a lot of procedural requirement, and if there is a state agent are involved as a perpetrator, then I think it takes it's very, very long time, because what they do is they adopt delay tactics. lot of delay tactics they use. So because if you of course file a case against individual citizen, if the case is between two individual citizens, is fine. Supreme Court system is okay, reasonably well. But if you are fighting the case against government official and state officials, then in our case it's very hard to get justice. It's really hard to get justice.
So,
In a practically speaking, of course, theoretically we have all the institutions. We have a human rights commission, national human rights commission. But look at human rights commission. Even though it is a constitutional body, constitution it has been fully empowered. But look at the government attitude. Last year it has introduced a bill into the parliament. So under that bill, largely they want to undermine the very autonomy of the Human Rights Commission. And Human Rights Commission, only 12% recommendation of the National Human Rights Commission's 12% recommendation has been implemented. But is Supreme, because Human Rights Commission, if you say that the person has to be prosecuted, then they don't implement it. Only the monetary compensation of part they comply. Even 12%, there is a compliance rate of recommendation, but only the monetary part, monetary relief has been given, not like imprisonment, not even the prosecution. No legal actions has been taken. So that's a very unfortunate part. I would say that the authority of National Human Rights Commission is, constitutionally speaking, it's a very high-powered commission. But now it has remained cosmetic, because the implementation part is very dismal.
if you look back, the period before the constitution and now,
Yes.
what would you see as the advances, positive development?
Nothing much improved, I would say, because the way state is functioning, there is no qualitative change, no transformation. Only thing is that I would say that during the conflict, there was a huge violation of international human rights law and humanitarian law. But unfortunate part of that, we adopted a peace process, we adopted a comprehensive peace agreement, and we promised that all the perpetrators, whether they are state actors or non-state actors, they all brought to the justice. Because during the conflict, there was a massive violation, and heinous crime was committed by state and non-state actor both. And war crime was committed, torture was committed, sexual violence was committed. Because since Nepal is a party of all four Geneva Convention, and under the common Article 3, crime was committed. It's like a war crime, crime under the Article 3 of Geneva Convention was committed. But and it was promised under the comprehensive peace agreement that all the perpetrator will brought to the justice. The commission will be set up. But look at in 2006, the comprehensive peace agreement was done. Now you are in 2020, but not even there is a single prosecution. Nobody is brought to the justice. No vetting. All the the security people who committed a crime, now almost they are retired, and they have been promoted to the higher position. And all the rebellion non-state actors, they became became a leaders, home minister, they became a parliamentarian, but no single prosecution was done till date. I would say that the culture of impunity we have entrenched here. I would say, the culture of impunity has been institutionalized here. So, and there is a total lack of political will to bring those perpetrators into justice. And we had a peace process, but without any credible process of transitional justice. So that's why the cosmetic commission has been set up. Still, there is one commission is there. two commissions has been set up: Commission on Disappearances and Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But largely, I would say it is a cosmetic. It has it has been constituted. I would say that there is a unholy alliance with the perpetrators, that everybody will get a blanket amnesty, and there will be no meaningful prosecution or anything like that. And because that culture of impunity has been institutionalized now, and I would say that there is no marked improvement culture of human right. Although look at our new constitution, there is a long list of fundamental rights, but I would say that it is a cosmetic, because look at the list of fundamental rights. The constitution not only ensure or guarantee civil and political right, but it also guarantee the economic, social, and cultural rights. Regarding civil and political right, look at constitution gave freedom of speech and expression, but largely that rights has been totally taken away, because now dissent is not allowed. So a lot of journalists has been arrested. A lot of people has been arrested because they share the cartoon of Prime Minister. And there is a Electronic Transaction Act under the section 47 of the Electronic Transaction Act. So now if you criticize someone or any state authorities, so you can subject to a cyber crime, and there is an imprisonment is for 5 years. Recently I was I'm a case of one of former bureaucrats. He was retired from the secretary, but he is a very vocal in a public issue. So he wrote something in his Facebook against the Prime Minister, and then the case was, he was arrested under the Cyber Crime Act. I'm looking his case, and we are able to, now he's in bail. So a lot of other activists also, they have been arrested under that act. And now the government is look at the government, like there is a right of peaceful protest is also guaranteed into the constitution. Once the new government came into the power, within the couple of months, it make a notification that no public protest can be made in a centrally located places, like the Mandala in Kathmandu. Mandala is a very popular place. Ratna Park is a very popular place. We can't take a procession in front of Prime Minister's office or his residence. And so virtually, they diluted, the notification was issued, virtually dilated that fundamental rights. So myself, I filed a petition into the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court gave a interim order. So because of interim order, now you are able to, take out protest. And regarding, freedom of speech and expression, there are series of laws has been, government has tabled into the parliament, like Information Technology Act, which is very damaging for the media freedom. There is a Media Council Act was also tabled into the parliament, which is also damaging for press freedom. And there are some other and even under the new civil code, it is very difficult for journalists to gather information, because we can be booked, because a lot of news collection process, like making a photograph and those kind of things has been criminalized under the new civil code. So virtually I would say that constitution is very liberal regarding press freedom, regarding freedom of speech and expression, regarding people can took out protest against the government. But largely it has been diluted, and I would say that there is a sinking space for democracy in Nepal. There is a sinking space for civil society. Government has taken a series of measures to to make it very difficult for civil society organization to function, because a lot of stringent measure has been introduced and even it now is very difficult to get registration of new organization. It became very difficult, very burdensome, and it is very difficult to to renew your civil society organizations. So virtually now there is a systematic attack against the freedom. There is a well targeted well calculated strategy from the state to dilute those rights, to break constitutional promises, so people cannot exercise their right. Regarding, there are economic, social and cultural rights are also into the constitution. We have a right to life has been also guaranteed. Right to health is also under the constitution. There is a right to housing. There is a right to employment also. Senior citizens have also their rights. There is a right against exploitation. There is a child right. But look, these are just theoretical, because okay, right to health is there, but look at the government hospitals. Virtually there is no medicine, there is no doctors. And now there is a the health sector has been completely overly commercialized. Now the common man has no access to those hospitals, which is heavily commercialized. Like there is a big hospitals like a 5-star, and if you do a small testing, you have to pay a couple of lakhs. So that is unaffordable, beyond the reach of common person. So right to health is just meaningless. And there is a right to education is under the constitution. It says that okay, education will be free, school education is free, but now the school education has become very expensive. It is beyond the reach of even the middle class, and it has been highly commercialized. Constitution says that we are it is a socialistic state. We are heading toward the socialistic state, but state has no responsibility regarding health and social security or regarding the education. Now the education has been heavily commercialized. State said that everybody has a right to social justice. Where is the social justice? Now there is a huge deprivation, there is a inequity, there is a mass poverty, and there is a huge corruption. The state, like now the state has been running like a private limited company. Now the state has been captured, state has been hijacked, and now there is no accountability on the part of the state. There is no transparency on the part of the state. In order to materialize the economic and social right, we need a transparent state. The state has to be accountable, but there is no accountability. There is a billion scandals are there. Each there are large number of projects which involve billion and billion rupees of corruptions. So the state, look at the government has no resource for pandemic, for the relief, but there are billions rupees has been misused for government say that right to health is there, but now the PCR testing, they are you have to pay like 10,000 15,000 to get your PCR done. So how can the common person can impose? Now 50 lakhs population, they lost their job. There is no social security for those population. There is no any social safety net for those population. State is doing nothing, and people are constitution say that there is a right to food, right against hunger. Large number of people has been dying because of hunger. Large number of people are committing suicide because of hunger. Large number of government set up isolation center. A lot of people, they committed suicide. They died in isolation center because there was no basic facilities, because government is failed to provide the basic right to life. Right to life has been heavily curtailed. So I would say that it's all cosmetic. Constitution has become largely cosmetic. Fundamental rights chapter has been largely forgotten, part of the constitution. And government think that okay, now we able to conduct election of all 3 tiers of state. Now you implemented the constitution, but they have no understanding that in order to have a implementation of the constitution, the fundamental rights has to be materialized, not only civil and political right, but economic, social and cultural rights. Constitution say that the government can, the state has to make some special laws, special measures can be adopted for the marginalized section of people, for the disabled, for the poor population, for the Dalits, for the indigenous people, for their for their empowerment and well-being. 5 years has been elapsed. There was not even a single piece of legislation. Nothing has been done. So I would say that there is a total, non-accountability on the part of the state. State is not functioning. It has become a feudal institution. It is not ensuring the rights of the population. The institution of the state has been undermined. Look at, there is a rampant corruptions, and there is a, under the constitution, there is a high powered commission has been constituted as a constitutional body. There is a commission on investigation of abuse of authority. But look at, if only they are concentrated on petty crimes, like person who has done corruption only for a couple of thousand rupees, they have been booked. But the person who misused or make a the looted more than 10 crores or billion rupees, they are all so they are beyond their reach. Nobody has been brought for the justice. So look at, we have a scarce resources. So that resources has been totally misappropriated. So how can we materialize economic social justice? Yes, Mr. Basil.
See, from what you said, most disturbing aspect is that there are starvation deaths.
Yes.
And that there are suicides.
Yes.
Related to that, and related to not having facilities in this isolation cells.
Yes.
Now that's a very serious kind of issue. It shows a very acute crisis.
Yes.
Is there any attempt by the government to deal with particularly the starvation issue?
No. Government is doing nothing, and only the Prime Minister speaks very flowery language. In my regime, no, we die because of hunger, but nothing. No step has been taken by the state authorities. Now, even we try to make the state institution accountable. We try to lodge a FIR, but that they refuse to even, because we say that okay, they has to be accountable, the authorities, and but it was refused. And very unfortunate part is that we tried to, one of my friend, I was also lawyer in that case. We tried to invoke the extraordinary jurisdiction of the court, but the Supreme Court also quashed that petition regarding the starvation day. So this is really very unfortunate. Even the judiciary failed to intervene in that matter.
So what it appears is that despite of a fundamental rights provision in the Constitution, even on acute problems like hunger and matters leading to suicides and unemployment and things that lead to very deep poverty, there is nothing you can do with the Constitution.
Yeah, that's really a frustrating part, and that idealism of the Constitution is largely cosmetic, and on the part of the state there is a lack of political will. There is a lack of and there is a clear unwillingness, and there is a lack of capacity on the part of the state. I would say that there is a criminal negligent on the part of the state, because it's not that there is no resources. Resources are there. There are billions and billions rupees has been wasted for the corruption. Look at even during the pandemic, state say that we spent 13 billion. I try to file a RTI, right to information, the Prime Minister office. They denied the information. They say they didn't give the they say that this is I say that you have to give up all the details where the money has been spent, but the information has been denied. So I would say that resources is there, because and then those resources have been misused, and that has not been allocated for the to fight against poverty or hunger, or there is a health crisis, and a lot of people are became unemployed, huge number. Right to employment is under our constitution, but look at 66 million population is out of Nepal, who are working in the Gulf country in a very difficult situation. Now
6 million.
30 60 million,
6 million.
no, 6 million, 60 lakh,
6 million.
6 billion, 6 million, 6 million, 6
And what
million,
is the
60
total
lakh.
population?
Population is 30 million. Total population is 30
30,
million.
30.
30. And 6 million population is working outside Nepal. So
One
what's
fifth.
the,
One-fifth
yes,
of the population, working population, is
yes,
out of the country.
yes. They are working in a very difficult situation. There is no legal protection in those countries. There is no effective protection, and now a large number of those people, because of pandemic, they became jobless. And there is also a huge corruption that because under the Foreign Employment Act, there is a provisions that uh, if for the rescue purpose, because there was a welfare fund has been created under that act, and every person who go to the foreign employment, they have to contribute certain money. So now they became helpless. Now they have been out of job, they have no money to come into the country, and now government is the price of the airfare has been 3-4 times higher than a normal fare. So look, the government is using that that as a money making
Yeah.
purpose. So that's also
We will in the future, we will take each of these issues separately and we
yeah.
will try to discuss them in more detail.
Yes,
So for the time being, since this is the constitutional day of the
yes,
constitution,
yes.
can you shortly give what will be your wish for the future of this constitution?
Because I would say that this constitution is a process of hard negotiation. It took we have went through a very difficult time to adopting this constitution. There was a serious bargaining and negotiation. Lot of time. Even we had a election for constituent assembly for 2 times. It was the first constituent assembly was failed to promulgate the constitution. Then we have a new constituent assembly, and then constitution was negotiated somehow. Although I would say that it is an imperfect constitution, but we don't have alternative. And because constitution is not only written, it has to be developed. It has to be developed through good proper and good laws has to be enacted, and the court.
And by the participation of people like you and others who will openly speak like you are doing. By
Yes,
that, you are really contributing to the development of the constitution. If more people
yes,
like you were to speak out and
yes,
explain why you want a change, why you want improvement, and why these things will be better for everybody, and I think the constitution in that way will begin to improve because
yeah,
it's a public opinion that improves the constitution.
yes, exactly,
If
exactly.
the public opinion is not strong enough, the constitution will remain as it is, and you cannot implement constitutions only by law. It has to be done through popular thinking, popular discussions, and popular participation. So I hope what you are saying and people like you can influence that process, and that next year when we discuss the constitution, we may at least be able to say uh, at least a few things improved. So
Yeah,
thank you very much. This was a very good discussion. We hope to see you again on we take each of these issues you raise separately so that you can take more time and explain each of them in a way that people will begin to understand.
thank you so much for inviting me, and I really enjoyed
Thank
this
you. We
discussion.
enjoy your
And
this thing, and we are
really a very good and productive discussion. I hope it will create some discourse in a
yeah,
in a in a public mind,
yeah,
and it will because this kind of discourse and discussion is critically important for the improvement of the governance, for the improvement of the constitution. As you mentioned that public opinion, enlightened public opinion is a very important role to play for the development and strengthening of the constitution. Ultimately, it is the peoples who are the keepers of the constitution, owner of the constitution, and constitution has to constantly, it has to be improved. The functioning of the constitution has to be improved. Accountability of the institution has to be ensured through the enlightened public opinion, through the debate, and through the continuous discussion. And constitution, of course, constitution, you can't afford to fail this constitution. It has to succeed, and it has to be improved, and we deserve better governance. The people deserve their full fundamental rights and liberty. Thank you so much.
okay.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you
Thank
very
you for
much. Thank you.
everybody.